I don't know about the rest of y'all. But I'm going to use a sports analogy when I'm talking about politics on this particular day for this particular show. What we're witnessing as we speak may be the biggest choke job in the history of politics. I think you have an idea of what the hell I'm talking about. But in case you don't, tune in. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show coming your way right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do at least 3 days a week over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, I'd like to take a moment to thank my subscribers, my followers, my supporters, my listeners, because we've now eclipsed over 784,000 subscribers, and we continue to climb, rapidly approaching 800,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, not to mention over 2.5 million downloads over iHeartRadio over the last couple of months. Can't thank y'all for the love and support enough. Keep it coming, and I'm going to keep on coming. Before I get into today's show, I just want to take an opportunity to let everybody know, we know what this day is. It's September 11th. It's 9/11. And we remember that fateful day many years ago when thousands upon thousands of American lives were lost because not one but two planes crashed intentionally into the World Trade Center. And it was the greatest attack on American soil in history. And we know the devastating losses that have taken place because of that event. We know the lives that have been irreparably and permanently altered. And I just want to take a moment to extend my heartfelt condolences to all those who've lost loved ones in 9/11, and to let you know that myself, my staff, my colleagues, contemporaries, the people that I employ, and everybody in between, our hearts are always with you. We will never forget. We will never forget. Let me move on to the subject at hand because we got a lot of stuff to get into. I'm going to get into Jay-Z and how folks have been going after him big time because of the selection that has taken place for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, Louisiana. The halftime selection, the halftime performer is not going to be what some people or who some people think it should be. And Jay-Z has been eviscerated by a lot of people verbally with the things that they've been saying. So we're definitely going to touch on that. Gil's Arena, led by Gilbert Arenas, former NBA star, had a debate about the best team in NBA history. He had some interesting comments. I've got some interesting pushback on that I'd love for you all to hear. But before I do any of that, I felt it was necessary to touch on the biggest story going on in America, and that is the debate that took place, the presidential debate that took place last night in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with Vice President Kamala Harris versus former President Donald Trump. It was not a good night for Donald Trump. Let's get that out the way first. It was not a good night for him because the reality is that you got a lot of people pointing the fingers. They're pointing the fingers at the moderators, Lindsey Davis and, of course, David Muir for ABC, who are moderating the debate. And a lot of people have been very, very critical of them, particularly critical of folks that are on the right. Some folks looked at Trump and they felt that he wasn't his sharpest. They brought those things up. I was amused by the debate because, in my estimation, I got to give credit where credit is due. I have to be consistent. Now, we all know that I've been on the record lamenting the state of affairs going on with Vice President Kamala Harris. I've been pointing out the fact that Joe Biden, before he stepped down, there was no primary, and the skids had been greased for him to cakewalk to the Democratic National Convention as the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States. And he wasn't doing interviews. He wasn't available. He wasn't available to take an abundance of questions from reporters. And then on June 27th, he was exposed for being somewhat cognitively declined. And as a result, a few weeks later, forced to step away and hand the reins to Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee. And therefore, she had no resistance. And I took into account the fact that he didn't have resistance for the primaries. She didn't have any resistance. And so as a result, she doesn't need to be avoiding interviews. She needs to stand up, take tough questions, and deal with the onslaught of cynicism that might come in her direction. That's how I felt about it. That's how I still feel about it. Having said all of that, she went into that debate last night, and let me be very clear. She won. She won. Because we're not going to get into the substance or lack thereof as it pertains to specific topics that were presented. Has she flip-flopped on fracking? It appears to be so. Has she flip-flopped on health care? Yes, it appears so. Has she flip-flopped on the border? It appears so. But that ain't what this segment is about today. This segment is about the debate and who did their job in resonating with and ingratiating themselves with the constituency out there for the purposes of defining who was sharper, who was more prepared, who was more presentable, who had a more favorable outing for the debate. And it was clearly her. It was clearly her. I'm not gonna mince words. She whipped his ass. I'm going to say that. Because whether it was him not being prepared or him taking her for granted because he assumed it was going to be a cakewalk, she played the role of agitator. She did what Trump did. She reversed it. She reversed it. She flipped the script on him. She came, as my boy Mark would say, he came with the cross. She came with the crisscross. That's what happened. She pulled a Trump. Think I'm lying? Griff, play tape 1, please.
I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Ooh! Oh, she got him. See, you gotta understand. Ladies and gentlemen, you can talk all of that stuff about everything. You can bring up all the issues that I brought up. You can bring up Trump, lamenting the 2020 election and talking about the borders and all of this other stuff. Who you're listening to right now is not a moderator. Who you're listening to right now is not somebody, even though I was a reporter for years, that's not reporting. Who you're listening to right now, dare I say, I'm sorry if I'm a little cocky when I throw this out, Rashawn. I'm sorry if I'm a little cocky when I throw this out, Griff. You're listening to somebody, dare I say, who's considered a master debater. This is my lane. This is my lane right here. And I'm telling you something right now. She got him good there. She got him good. You know why? Because she clearly agitated him. From that point forward, he was talking about, look at my rallies. Look at the number of people who show up. They're not exhausted. They're very interested. They flock to my rallies, blah, blah, blah. He got himself preoccupied with offsetting or off-putting her accusations that she lobbed against him instead of really focusing in on what the hell her record is. He didn't do that. That's exactly what she wanted. And he played right into her hands. When she brought up Hannibal Lecter, man, remember, he was being clowned for bringing that up at one of his speeches because we know he deviates from the script, goes off prompt to off kilter, and then when he ad-libs is when he's at his worst. That's what transpired. So you had the Hannibal Lecter comment, okay? You understand? And then she said people notice that people start leaving his rallies out early out of exhaustion and boredom. Look at his face. Look at his face when she threw out the word boredom. That was problematic for him. And from that point forward, he got preoccupied with defending himself instead of being on the attack when it's usually him that's on the attack. And she didn't stop there. She didn't stop there at all. Play cut number 2, Griff. Give it to me.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
I don't understand why David Muir would even interrupt at that point. Just let him speak and let's hear what Kamala Harris's response was. But neither here nor there. It's not me. This man's a pro. He knows what he's doing. I'll leave it at that. I just didn't see the purpose of that. But my point is, you have any idea how ridiculous that sounded? Now, I remember seeing somebody actually say that, but just because they said it didn't make it true. So for a former president who's now a presidential candidate to be uttering such stuff during a debate didn't appear to be the wisest, most cogent, most smartest thing to do, okay? Especially when you got Kamala Harris being just brilliant in terms of showing her level of preparation and how it worked for her with her facial expressions and the way she was coming back at him. She was basically looking at him like he was silly. And it was serving to agitate him and rile him up even more and get him off message. Remember, we got inflation to deal with. We've got an economy that the left has been bragging about and the right has been excoriating. We've got that going on. We've got border issues, which, by the way, whether they want to say she was the czar or not, whether people like Roland Martin and others who's been on this show saying she was not the czar, there were people labeling her the border czar. And over 10.5 million immigrants, migrants, came across the border illegally, and he couldn't zero in on that no matter how much he tried to bring it up because he just appeared to be rambling. And so that didn't work to his advantage either. But that wasn't all. Look at what Kamala Harris did here. Play cut number 7, Griff. Take it away.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Good Lord have mercy. How embarrassing. All you had to say in a situation like that is that 1 minute she's trying to cater to one constituency, another minute she's trying to cater to the next. But he isn't the most articulate person in the world at times, and it came across that way last night. Did you see how skillfully she would slide in and give remarks, and then she'd slide out and just let him talk? One of the things that they talked about during the campaign in 2020 when Biden was going up against him, they said the right was saying, let Biden talk. He'll slip up. Biden said, no, we were employing the same strategy. Let him talk. He'll slip up. And that is what Kamala Harris executed last night. There is no way around this. Okay, so we watching here, and I'm just reading from the Wall Street Journal, by the way, who's prone to lean right, but certainly I love their paper. They have a lot of objective material up in there. They called it like they saw it. Mr. Trump went on to say that the FBI crime statistics are a fraud and the Bureau of Labor Statistics job numbers are a fraud, and the 2020 election was, yes, still a fraud, and they should have sent it back to the legislatures about the January 26, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. He regretted nothing. Then World War III again. What if this is supposed to reassure suburbanites who worry that Mr. Trump is too erratic to put back in the Oval Office? That is the strategy that Kamala Harris exercised. She took him to school. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to say it right now. What we are witnessing before our very eyes may be the biggest choke job in political history. Somebody needs to say it, so I'm going to say it. The biggest choke job in political history. And here's why. When Donald Trump, when there was an attempted assassination on the life of Donald Trump, remember what happened? Something hits his ear. He touches his ear. He goes down. Secret Service piles on top of him to secure him. Once that happens, he gets up. He's got blood streaming down the right side of his face and his ear. At which time he then gets up, surrounded by Secret Service, raises his fist in the air and pumps it, fight, 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 with the American flag draped behind him. You couldn't buy a more perfect moment, a more perfect scene for a politician in the history of this country. And when that happened, all he had to do was shut up. Let his surrogate speak for him. And instead, all he has continued to do is show that he's the same old Donald Trump, that he's learned nothing, that he's not bending or breaking one bit. And he has literally talked Kamala Harris into running neck and neck with him in the polls. Just like that. Just like that. I believe that this man at that time had the election locked. And since that time, he has absolutely, positively blown it. I believe if he loses this election, because he still could win. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he can't win. It's a tight race. It's going to come down to the wire. But I believe if this man loses the race, it will go down as the greatest choke job in the history of politics. That's my perspective on this. But I don't know as much as my next guest. He is a pollster extraordinaire, somebody that everybody knows, because when it comes to looking at the polls, whether it's Republican or Democrat, but for the most part Republican. If I'm mistaken, I apologize, sir. But that is his reputation. He is on top of these elections, day in, day out, night in, night out. This is what he does. He is arguably the most renowned in the business when it comes to this. I'm talking about the one and only Frank Luntz, who is on the show with yours truly right now. What's up, my man? How are you? How's everything?
I can't believe I'm doing this with you. I can't, so we know each other a little bit. You and I probably spent 3 or 4 times together in the last 15, 20 years. The fact that I'm on your show is remarkable to me. I want you to know that you and Chris Cuomo have the most amazing chemistry. And you're at the top of your game. And I want all your listeners and your viewers to know this. We worked for ESPN several years ago, and no sports journalist ever tested as well as you did in your commentaries. Whether people agree or disagree, they love your attitude, they love your approach, and they think you are awesome what you do. So thanks for including me. And hopefully the signal, I'm at West Point, doesn't have the best signal in the world. Hopefully it's good enough that I can communicate with you and your listeners.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to get those words from you. I really, really appreciate it. And for the benefit of my listeners, I have agreed to come up to West Point on October 29th to speak at West Point. You have invited me, and I'm going to speak. If I remember correctly, I believe it is to over 700 cadets. Is that correct?
We never know. One can never promise exactly how many people are going to be there because we don't know what situation we're going to be in. But you're going to actually have lunch with all 4,000 of them. And you, Mr. Smith, have to bring them their food and clear their table.
Oh, I will happily do so. I will happily do so. Let's get into the debate that took place last night because it's inescapable. We have to do that. You heard what I said. I think that Kamala Harris won the debate last night. I think she came across as a bit more polished, more prepared, certainly avoided some of the issues, but it ain't her job to make sure the issues are brought up. It's the opponent's jobs to make sure that they get after her, and Trump seemed ill-prepared to do so. Your overall thoughts on the performance of both?
Well, I actually think it's the responsibility of the candidates to tell us the truth. to let us know what
Okay.
we need to know, and it's our right to demand it from the candidates. And I have to explain to people that I'm less concerned about this election and more concerned about the next generation, about how ugly
So am
things
I.
have become, how partisan, how divided, polarized, and toxic. Second is, I don't believe it's as much as she won last night as Trump lost. Number one, he did not focus on the issue that mattered most, inflation, and I cannot explain why. Because it was given to him several times, and every time he got a question on inflation, he answered on something else. Third, he lost his composure. He looked mean, he looked angry, he never looked at her. Do you realize how many women looked at him and said, you know what? That's my ex-husband. That's the son that really bothers me. It makes them mad that you show that kind of contempt for your opponent that you can't even look them straight in the eye. You're showing the video behind you. Watch how often. There she goes. She turns and looks at him because it's a sign of respect. It's a sign of human interaction. He didn't have it. Number four, I don't know what the hell this is about eating dogs and cats. I don't understand any of that. It's what he talked about. It's what everyone's talking about today. And number five, he had a great conclusion, a great closing. If you understand that these problems exist, why have you done nothing about them? That's what he asked to Harris. But the other 100 minutes, it was a disaster for him. Now okay, you can say that she should have been more candid. You can say that it's up to Trump to force it from her, but she should want to provide it. We need more truth in this country. We need more candor in this country. We need less politics. It's not who wins and who loses, but it actually is, to some degree, how we play the game that matters. This isn't entertainment. This isn't sports.
Right.
We can do better.
But Frank, allow me to interject. I get that, and I totally agree with you for our benefit. But if you're trying to win the election and inflation is a huge problem, and you don't necessarily have a potent enough argument to offset what he might throw at you, I'm not going to knock her for not inviting the subject or trying to be evasive with it. If we've got a border issue and there's 10.5 million immigrants crossing the borders illegally, and you know that can cost you votes with independent, I'm not going to get on her for trying to evade the subject. If he is not adroit enough to bring it up and to address her and attack her cogently on the subject, that's his problem. One could easily argue, wouldn't you say?
Yes, this is his problem, but it's our problem because in the end, she's going to win. And in the end, we have to deal with whatever she says, whatever she does is going to affect us. So I'd rather have people up there who tell the truth. And I'm going to relate this to you. You've never held back in your career. Even in times when if I were advising, I would have said, don't deal with that issue. Don't say it that way. You're a truth teller. Your attitude is exactly what I wish we had in politics, which is people said what they meant what they said, and then did what they said. And that has not been happening in American politics. She's an example of this. I thought last night she beat him, but in the end, it was not good for anybody. And the real loser last night was America.
Well, you know, I'm not going to visit that subject too much in terms of what you said about me, because you've asked me, have I thought about running for office? And along with a whole bunch of other people over the last year, it ain't happening. I'm not running for office. I'm not going to do that. But you did. Let me go back to you, because something you was quoted as saying, I think you tweeted this, that Trump was about Trump blowing the election. You've never seen anyone that has done so much to blow its election. It falls in line with what I've indicated, that I think is going to go down as the biggest choke job in political history. What do you say to that? Explain.
It's very easy. And there are two tweets. I was tweeting all through the debate last night. And there are two tweets that I'll raise with you on this show. One where I was critical of him and his people went crazy on me. And one where I was critical of Harris and her people went crazy on me. In his case, if you want to have that comparison, that side-by-side comparison, which he did, on inflation and immigration, then you have to draw. You have to give the numbers, and you have to explain why it happened and what your solutions are. And he couldn't wait to get off of inflation to talk about anything but inflation. And it's so easy. Stephen, it's food and fuel, housing and healthcare, F squared, H squared. And it affects people in their day-to-day lives and affects their long-term quality of life. As far as immigration, it's not just about what's happening at the border. It's safety and security and doing those things to make the country strong. He can show easily that the decisions of the Biden-Harris campaign made things worse for Americans at the border and across the country. I also want to address the tweet that I said about her, because I know that it's blown up, where I criticized the facial expressions.
Yes, you did.
Don't do it. There you go. Don't do it. People saw it as acting. They saw it as fake. She's raising legitimate points, but it's hurting her credibility. And it did fit into female stereotypes. People went nuts on me for saying this. This is the truth, that she undercut her message. But for some reason, I'm not allowed to bring it up because I can criticize him for his behavior, and that's okay.
Right.
I can't criticize her for doing the same thing. I'm a debate coach. I am an expert in body language. These are things that I've been studying for 40 years now. And she undercut. Look at that look. Who sits that way? Who puts their hand like that underneath? You. I don't know if you edited this just for this program, but it was constant. And the public, because I'm watching it with over 200 people, and they're booing her for this. They thought she had a better communication. They thought she gave better messaging, but they thought that the facial expressions undermine her credibility.
But Frank, real quickly, when you say you were sitting with 200 people, how many of them were conservatives / Republicans? How many of them were liberals / progressives? How many of them were independents?
It was everyone. It was everyone left, center, and right. It was the entire gambit of politics. And I want to emphasize, these people thought she won the debate, but they thought that she undercut her messaging with facial acting, is what they said. And that's
but what if she's able to make the argument that I was sitting like this and I was laughing and what have you, because by mocking him seemingly, I knew it would agitate him, which ultimately lent itself towards me winning the debate because I got him off key, I got him off message, and that was the objective of it. One could easily argue that point, Frank.
Yes, they could, but they're agitating Trump, and at the same time, they're agitating the millions and tens of millions of people watching the debate. So you agitated the candidate who you're running against, but you're agitating the people who support you. Look, we all do it. You do it with your voice. I do it with my hands. We all do it, but we're not all running for president. And in the end, authenticity, genuineness, candor is what the public is looking for, not an actor.
Two more questions before I let you get on out of here. Number one, a lot of people out there are saying that it was 3 against 1, that they were that the moderators were all over him, but they let her off the hook. I just felt it was her agitating him, and they were flowing with that. But nevertheless, I know that the right is going to have a different opinion than the left, and I get that. What was your take on that?
I wondered how many times they fact-checked him, which is very legitimate. But they should have done the same thing with her. I thought it would have been, the outcome would have been the perception of a more balanced debate. Now, he did get 6 extra minutes than her. So if you're saying that this whole thing was set up to make him look bad and make her look good, they gave him 6 extra minutes. Here's the problem. The more he spoke, the worse he got. He should speak less, and Harris should speak more. The only time that we've ever had in modern politics where a candidate actually did damage by talking more was Sarah Palin, running for vice president under John McCain in 2012. In 2008. The more she spoke, the worse it got for her.
Last question to you. Does Trump need another debate, or should he avoid it and just march to the election, have his rallies, let her have her rallies, and let the American people decide that way? What is your suggestion? Who needs it? Yeah, what is your suggestion?
People make decisions based on side-by-side comparisons. And you notice the split screen during the entire debate. Side-by-side is his only opportunity to take her on. But frankly, if I'm her campaign, and he's already said that he won't accept the Fox News hosts, I'm going to say, you know what? We offered it to them. He didn't want to do it. Fine. He'll go his way. We'll go our way. And we'll go right through Election Day. And then she wins. He needs to get on his knees and beg for another debate. And guess what? He ain't going to do it because Donald Trump doesn't beg. He doesn't admit mistakes. He has no humility. And all of these are going to hurt him come Election Day.
So you think that Kamala Harris is going to win the election? If you had to guess today, you'd say she's going to win today.
And you emphasize the point today. As of today, Harris is the next president. She will need a slip up. Trump cannot do it alone. Harris will have to say something very upsetting to a large number of people for her to lose at this point. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it likely? No.
Pollster extraordinaire, the one and only Frank Luntz, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show for the very first time. I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much. You know I'll be calling you as this election draws near. Appreciate you so much. Thank you, my man. Take care of yourself.
You got it, man.
The one and only Frank Luntz right here with Stephen A. You heard what he had to say. If the election were today, Kamala Harris would be the next president of the United States, and that Donald Trump needs to beg for a second debate, which we all know he will never do. There you have it. There you have it. Coming up, Jay-Z is catching heat for picking Kendrick Lamar to perform at the Super Bowl halftime in New Orleans this coming February. I'll get into that. Make no mistake. But first, Sean O'Malley, the headliner of Saturday's UFC event at the Sphere in Las Vegas, Nevada, joins me. Find out why he says you should watch his fight over Canelo Alvarez versus this Capralanga, and what's his beef with the one and only Conor McGregor. All that and more up next right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Back with more in a minute. Hey! I want to take a second to make sure everybody knows the NFL season has officially started, and I couldn't be more excited. And with the games happening Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night, PrizePicks wants to help you cash in on all that big-time action. You see, PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app where you can pick two or more of your favorite players, and then you simply select more or less on their projected stats for the game. Pick a player's rushing yards, passing yards, total touchdowns. The list is endless. And the best part is, PrizePicks has something for every sports fan. Choose from the WNBA, MLB, MMA, even golf, for crying out loud. All in the same entry. I make my picks and submit early, all in less than 60 seconds. That's less time than it takes for Travis Kelce to take a pass from Mahomes all the way to the house. And get this, sign up with code SAS and PrizePicks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on PrizePicks and you'll get $50 instantly. Pick more, pick less. Yo, it's that easy. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Earlier this week, I interviewed current UFC Bantamweight Champion Suga Sean O'Malley, who will fight Merab Dvalishvili Saturday night at the Sphere in Las Vegas. For those of you who may have missed it, because I haven't shown it to you yet, here it is. Take a look. My guest is the current UFC Bantamweight Champion of the world and number 6 in the UFC pound-for-pound rankings. He's got a historic match coming up Saturday night at the Sphere in Las Vegas on ESPN+. Please welcome the one, the only, Suga Sean O'Malley. What's going on, big time? How you doing, man? How's everything?
Everything's going really good. When you're this close to a fight, you're this healthy. It's hard to believe it's true, but it is true. It's happening. I feel good. I'm excited. Ready to go.
Now tell me this, how the hell are you feeling so good and so healthy when you're training, you're putting yourself through the rigors and all of this other stuff, just from a physical perspective? Because you got a lot of folks out there, they get in the gym, they feel a little bit of pain, ain't in any kind of shape whatsoever, and the next thing you know, they're feeling worse than they did before. How do you feel better when you put your body through the rigors that you put yourself through to prepare yourself for championship matchups?
Our bodies adapt very well, and it's been 12 weeks of eating perfect, sleeping perfect, training very hard, but most importantly, training very smart. So, you know, I'm a vet in this sport. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've learned a lot. Each fight camp, I learned something new, and I implement it into this fight camp. And I'm chasing greatness right now, so I have to mark all the boxes.
I got you. You know what? You're going to make history as the first person to fight at the Sphere, taking on Merab Dvalishvili. I believe Dvalishvili is, I think that's how you pronounce his name. All right. How did that happen? How did this fight happen?
Well, Merab's on a 10-fight win streak. He's ranked number 1. He's been ranked number 1 for a very long time. Aljamain Sterling was his training partner and best friend. So Aljamain Sterling was the champ. And I had to mix that up. I had to get in there, knock Aljamain Sterling out cold, drop a couple hammer fists on his head. And then Merab wasn't next. I had to go and take care of some business. I had to go whoop Cheeto's ass in Miami for a little bit. And now here we are. It's the fight that makes the most sense. The Suga Show versus Merab at the Sphere. It's going to be epic.
I want to know what your mentality. See, this is what I like about you as well. Yeah, you talk, but you back it up. That's all I give a damn about. You back it up. You handle your business. But what I really like about you is that you never get the impression that maybe sometimes we attribute it to Dana White and how he runs the UFC. But I give you fighters credit. I love when I see champions not running from anybody, not procrastinating, not hesitating, or anything like that. They've been talking about Merab for the longest time, and now over the last 2 years, to be specific, about how he's that dude outside of you. How bad did you want this fight? How hard was it to happen?
The fight was very easy to happen. Merab's next in UFC's eyes and everyone's eyes. Merab is the number 1 guy. I love this fight. I actually was calling out Ilia Topuria, who in my mind, he's the 145-pound champ, is one of the most scary fights for me right now. I was calling out a guy that I thought was even more scary than Merab. So people were giving me shit saying, no, we want you to fight Merab. I was like, hell yeah, I will. If you guys want me to fight someone who I think is less of a scary fight, I'll take that all day. So the fight was very easy to come together. And Merab's getting whooped in a few days.
When they talk about Merab, they talk about 2 things. Number 1, his wrestling ability. Number 2, how his conditioning is just at an elite level. The motor never stops churning, never stops moving. This guy's got energy all day, every day, et cetera, et cetera. And with you, they just say, you know, he's spectacular, he's a knockout artist, he's box office. But going up against a wrestler, any concern for you in that regard? Somebody that would prefer to grapple as opposed to stay there and try to engage in a striking contest against you?
I would prefer to fight someone whose goal and the only way to beat me is to take me down. That is going to be his downfall. That is how he's going to get knocked out. It doesn't matter how good his cardio is when he's sleeping.
Just that simple, right? Just that simple. So let me ask you this. When you look at him as a fighter, what do you think of him? Break it down for those of us who don't know much about him, haven't seen much from him. Break down his skill set and what you think he brings to the table and why we should be excited about this fight, considering the fact that he's going up against the magnificent Sugar Sean O'Malley.
I'll break down his appearance first. Short, 5'4", ugly, huge nose, just a weird head, very big nose. Just a very ugly guy. Skill set wise, very dangerous. We mentioned it before, his cardio it's crazy.
Right.
He's called the machine for a reason. He's got very, very good wrestling. He's good at wrestling into punches, back into wrestling. And that is what makes him dangerous. He's very durable. There's been fights where he gets clipped and comes back and just wins the round. He's a very dangerous opponent. And, the more dangerous the guy standing across from me, the better I perform. I'm here for it.
You've avenged the lone loss in your career. He has 4 losses on his resume. When you've seen, I'm imagining that you've seen his fights, particularly the fights that he's lost. What's his weaknesses? What are the kind of weaknesses that he has that you believe is going to be relatively easy for you to exploit?
Like I said, he's on 10-fight win streak. So those losses were quite a while ago, years and years ago. But I believe if I'm faster than the opponent, I will knock them out eventually. I didn't get a knockout in my last fight against Cheeto. I hit him with some serious shots that did a lot of damage. I wasn't able to get him out of there, but I do believe I will get Merab out of there. I don't think he has the durability of Cheeto. and I'm gonna make sure I get him out of there. You know, I'm gonna do what I do and get it done in 2. I think I'm gonna get him out of there.
This isn't the first time I've interviewed you, but every time I've interviewed you, you remind me of your love for boxing and how you watch the sport. You know a little thing, you know a thing or two about the sport. Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting Edgar Berlanga at the T-Mobile Arena on the same night. Why should fans tune in or come to see you fight in Vegas instead of the great Canelo Alvarez?
Edward Balaga, who? I have never heard of that guy. To be honest, I'd like it. It's a friendly competition. It's across the street. Canelo Alvarez, pound for pound, probably the best boxer in the world right now. I'm actually a massive fan. I've been throwing a little shade, but it's not, it's not personal. I'm a huge fan of Canelo, but I mean, I just feel like it's a very, I see all the boxers on Twitter saying that the UFC is fucked because the boxing is going on the same day. I don't think that's the case. I think UFC is going to get more views. And I promise you, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the rest of that week, they will be talking about the Suga Show. They will not be talking about the 36-minute boxing match that went on at T-Mobile. They'll be talking about how crazy the Sphere was, how mind-blowing it was. You weren't there. You cannot believe you missed it. If you weren't actually at the event, what Suga did to Merab was mind-blowing. That's what they're going to be talking about.
So when they call, now they call you Sugar. Why do you love that name so much? Because I never asked you that question. If you have the answer, you told somebody else to answer, I apologize. I've never seen the answer you gave to being called Sugar and why you love that so much. Tell me why.
Yeah, Johnny Aho, one of my first coaches back in Helena, Montana, where I was born and raised, he gave it to me because I was so sweet to watch fight. He started calling me Sugar. Sugar.
Got you. Well, shoot, you back it up, that's for sure. Sugar Shane Mosley, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, now Sugar Sean O'Malley. I love it. I love the comparisons as well. You beat Merab. What does that mean for you moving forward? Who would be next on your list?
I mean, I got options. The Ilia Topuria fight, he's got to fight Max Holloway in October in Abu Dhabi, which is one of the most exciting fights in my opinion. I'm looking forward to that fight a lot. That's a possibility. Umar Nurmagomedov, Unibrow Umar, he's a possibility. Davison Figueiredo, he moved up from flyweight to bantamweight. He has a 3-fight win streak. That's a possibility. I like to have options. I might, people hate when I bring up boxing. I don't know if we're there yet, and I'm okay with that. If I need to go knock out 2-3 more guys to get a boxing fight, I'm okay with that. I'll keep doing what I do, but boxing's never out of the picture.
What boxing match do you want?
I wouldn't mind Gervonta Davis. He's just so little. I like my matchup. We're the same weight class. I like that matchup. That'd be one I could pick. If I had to pick, probably him.
And you think you'd beat Gervonta Davis?
I believe I could beat Gervonta Davis, yeah.
They do call him Tank, I mean, the brother puts people to sleep. You know that, right? He does what you do. He does what you do, Sean. That's
what makes it interesting. I am, I'm a fan of his skill set. He's very, very dangerous. I'm not denying that. I'm chasing greatness. I believe I could transfer over to boxing very well. Give me 6 months. Give me a legitimate boxing camp, and I'm very dangerous with both hands, left, right, southpaw, orthodox. I believe I can get that job done too.
When you think about the UFC and the state of affairs that exists, one could easily argue that you're one of, if not the most popular UFC fighter in the business at this particular moment in time. Your goal is to win, keep winning, to be a champion, but it doesn't stop there. When we think about somebody that's box office, obviously the name Conor McGregor has come up over the years, even though he hasn't fought in years, and he certainly hasn't won in even a longer period of time. Now we see him acting in Hollywood movies and things of that nature. You look at that and what transpired with Conor McGregor. What do you learn? What do you peel from the experiences you saw him witness in terms of your elevation within the UFC and what you need to continue to do outside of winning, of course?
Yeah, I've learned so much from Conor inside and outside the octagon. Inside the octagon, his presence, his calmness, I've learned a lot from Conor inside the octagon. Outside the octagon, I've learned a lot too. You just got to be careful with how much drugs you do, and try to keep your head on straight. I've learned a lot from watching his downfall. He's been throwing shots at me from pure jealousy, from my perspective. Yeah, I think Conor's a loose cannon right now and hope he gets help.
What kind of shots has he been throwing at you, and why would he feel the need to throw shots at you? What's that about?
I mean, that would be a good question for him. I don't know. There's, been little tweets here and there, just, pecking and stabbing at me. But I do see it from a jealousy perspective. I really don't know where else it would come from. And people are like, well, I'd Conor be jealous of you. Because I'm the champ. I defended the belt. Something he's never done. I'm fighting. This will be the biggest this will be the biggest gate of all time in UFC history. I am coming for Conor's records. I'm fighting. I'm active.
Mm-hmm.
I'm what he used to be and what he wants to be still. So, it was kind of random. I never said anything negative about Conor until he started throwing shots. So right now it's fuck Conor.
Are you of the mindset that as your popularity grows, the UFC would need him less and less and less, and that might be the provocation behind him coming at you like that?
That would be a good guess. I do think, Conor can come back and fight Michael Chandler and do massive numbers, massive pay-per-view. He's still that guy, but for how long?
And then there's you. Before I let you get on out of here, man, I'm going to ask you another boxing question, somewhat anyway, because I get on Jake Paul. I like Jake Paul a lot, but I want him to fight fighters, like boxers, as opposed to just UFC guys, because he's in the boxing profession. Yeah, he's fighting a boxer this time, but somebody twice his age of Mike Tyson. What do you think about that fight coming up down the road?
Yeah, I've been a huge fan of what Jake's done, from watching him fight Nate Robinson, Ben Askren. I enjoyed that crossover from YouTuber, influencer into the boxing world. I've listened to his story. I've heard him talk about how boxing really truly changed his life. And I agree. I fit that. I don't know what I would be doing without fighting. So I get that on that kind of a level. And I enjoy what he's doing. I enjoy massive fights. Him versus Mike Tyson is hard. It's like kind of hard for your heart, because you just don't want to see Mike Tyson get hurt. And that's where I'm at right now. I love the big fights. I watch every single Jake Paul fight. Good entertainment. Him versus Nate Diaz was electric. It gives me that Conor McGregor vibes. The feeling of a big fight. Right. Those fights give me like that. So, but the Mike Tyson one, same thing. I'll probably be there. I'll watch it 100% like the rest of the world. But it's a thing where it's like, I like watching Jake Paul knock people out, but it's Mike Tyson. He's a little bit older. And so it's like, it's a tricky one.
One of the last questions before I let you get on out of here. You're part of the new PrizePicks Run Your Game campaign with Drewski and Joe Budden that dropped ahead of the NFL season. Is it true you're obsessed with football? And if so, who's your team?
So growing up, I was my first dream, my first love was the NFL. I thought I was going to be in the NFL until I realized I'm, not big enough to be in the NFL. So that's when I kind of switched over to fighting. But I'm getting back into the NFL, and it feels good. I went and played catch with Kyler Murray, hung out with Marvin Harrison Jr., caught some passes. That was an incredible experience, but I'm back, and and I'm loving on PrizePicks.
By the way, let me transition to this. You co-host the Timbo Sugar Show on YouTube
Yes,
with your head coach, Tim Welch. For those who aren't familiar with it, tell us about that. What do y'all talk about?
Yeah, Tim and I have been running this podcast for 6 years. Every Sunday we shoot a podcast. Very, very consistent. A lot of podcasts hit about 7 or 8 and then start to fall off. We've been doing it 6, coming on 7 years, over 300 episodes. We talk mostly fights, but we also talk about, a lot of healthy stuff, sleeping good, eating good, hydrating, moving your body, staying consistent with working out, just kind of an overall healthy lifestyle podcast. We're also a little bit of dark humor. It's definitely not for everyone. We can make people uncomfortable for sure, but yeah, a little bit of everything.
I'm scared to ask you this last question, but I have to. I just have to, because I'm too damn curious. You have an adult beverage company called Happy Dad. Is that true? What is that about? What is that about, Sean?
Happy Dad is absolutely crushing it. Hard seltzer. If you haven't heard of it, you got to go try it.
All right, man. Well, listen, handle your business. Prediction for Saturday night's fight. What are you predicting?
Rob will go down in 2 is what I'm predicting.
In 2?
In 2, indeed. Yeah, I think I'm going to find his chin early. I'm going to find his chin often, and he is not going to be able to handle it. And if he does, it's going to be an ass whooping.
Sugar Sean O'Malley, the Bantamweight Champion of the world in UFC. Thanks a lot for being on the Stephen A. Smith Show, my man. Good luck, all right? Good luck this week, and you take it easy, all right?
Hell yeah. Good talking. Peace.
Thanks again to my man, Sugar Sean. Coming up, it was announced that West Coast rapper Kendrick Lamar will be the performer at the NFL Super Bowl halftime show in New Orleans, Super Bowl 59 to be exact. Well, some prominent artists aren't happy about that at all. I'll get into all of that and more in a minute. Stephen A. Smith Show in the house. Don't go away. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. On Sunday, the National Football League announced that West Coast rapper Kendrick Lamar will headline the Super Bowl 59 halftime show in New Orleans. Well, the news didn't go over very well with New Orleans native Master P, who wrote an open letter to the one and only Jay-Z, who produces the Super Bowl halftime shows for the NFL. The letter said in part, quote, "As ambassador of entertainment in the city of New Orleans, I have to agree with the fans that Lil Wayne should be a part of this celebration as well. He's one of the greatest hip-hop artists alive, still relevant, and he's a New Orleans native. Let's not miss this cultural moment in the South. Life is too short. We have to give our legends their flowers while they are here," end quote. Other artists also chimed in on social media, voicing their displeasure as well, including Juvenile and, of course, Nicki Minaj. Here's what Nicki Minaj had to say. Quote, "Denying a young black man what he rightfully put into this game for no other reason but your ego, your hatred for Birdman, Drake, and Nicki got you punishing Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, the GOAT. Nola, what's good? Eminem stood firm on having 50 Cent come out. A white man. Shit sad. House, you know what. But it's good for them. No loyalty, question mark, welp. Then, N-word, we'll keep sunning you," end quote. Oh, I can't wait to touch that statement right there. But before I do that, in a statement of his own, Jay-Z had this to say about the choice. Quote, "Kendrick Lamar is truly a once-in-a-generation artist and performer. His deep love for hip-hop and culture informs his artistic vision. He has an unparalleled ability to define and influence culture globally. Kendrick's work transcends music, and his impact will be felt for years to come," end quote. The Super Bowl halftime show is one of the biggest music events of the year, in case y'all didn't know, which I know y'all do. Past performances have included Michael Jackson, Prince, Beyonce, Rihanna, Jennifer Lopez, Maroon 5, and most recently, Usher. First, let me say this about my own individual emotion. I'm pretty pissed off. Jay-Z is my boy. Make no mistake about it. That's my dog right there. If he were wrong, I wouldn't say much. If he's right, I'd have more to say. But under no circumstances am I going to be quiet when you talking about him like that, Nicki Minaj. What the hell was that? What's that about? Respectfully, that's some bullshit. It really, really is. That's just beyond the pale. Master P's open letter, no harm, no foul. Lil Wayne's your man. You're a New Orleans native. He's a New Orleans native. I get that part. You think he should have been there? I happen to know he was on the list. I happen to know he was given consideration. But Kendrick Lamar is arguably the hottest thing out right now. Not Like Us. That single, man. I mean, everybody going off about that. Shit was off the chain. We got to call it what it is. Now, it wasn't great for Drake. But Drake is still big time. He still got his followers. He still got people that love the hell out of him because he's phenomenal. He's fantastic. Ain't nobody here trying to throw no shade on Drake. But Kendrick Lamar right now is that dude. Right now, he's that dude. And why is that relevant? Because I want to put up this full screen for past performers at the Super Bowls dating back all of these years. Dating back to like 2010. Y'all need to see this stuff before you open your damn mouth saying the kind of stuff that Nicki Minaj said. I ain't talking about Master P. All right? I'm not talking about that. But, you know, Birdman, not really talking about him. I understand. There might be some history there. Listen, I listen to hip-hop music. I grew up as a product of the hip-hop generation. But I'm just listening to music. I ain't into reading the what's going on social media and in the tabloids and on all of these magazines and all of this stuff with all of these beefs going on. I don't know about all of that. Don't care. I got better things to do with my life than that. But I know this much. If you're going to tell me that somebody is in a position where they can make this argument against Jay-Z's pick, I'm going to challenge you on that. I really, really am. Because I don't understand how you could do that with a straight face. We're going to have this up on the full screen for you right here. You know, in 2010, The Who performed. They ain't hip-hop artists, but The Who performed. 2010 in Miami. They were from London, okay? I think in 2010 it was Miami. 2011, let's look at some of this stuff right here, because when we think about Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, they all from, most of them from L.A. And you got a situation where the Super Bowl was at SoFi Stadium in L.A., so that was Dr. Dre's day, okay? So we get that part, right? We understand that. But when I'm looking at these cats, 2011, Dallas, Black Eyed Peas from Los Angeles. 2012, it was in Indianapolis. It was Madonna from Michigan. 2013, the Super Bowl was in New Orleans. Beyonce performed. She's from Houston, Texas. 2014 in New Jersey, Bruno Mars. He's from Hawaii. 2015, Katy Perry. It was in Phoenix. She's from Santa Barbara. 2016, Santa Clara. Coldplay performed. They from London. 2017, Lady Gaga. She from New York. 2018, Minneapolis. Justin Timberlake performed. He from Memphis, Tennessee. 2019, Atlanta. That's where the Super Bowl was. Who performed? Maroon 5 from L.A. 2020, Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. It was in Miami. Jennifer Lopez from New York. Shakira's from Colombia. 2021, The Weeknd performed in Tampa. They from Toronto. 2022, I already told you about them. 2023, Rihanna. It was in Phoenix. She's from Barbados. And 2024, in Vegas, it was Usher. He's from Dallas. Since when is the whole city, does that require you to be on stage for the halftime of the Super Bowl just because an artist is from the city? That ain't been the MO for the Super Bowl. What y'all talking about? That has not been the MO. Only time it happened was with Dre a couple of years ago with Mary J. Blige and them. Kendrick Lamar was on that stage. Yeah, that's true. Mary J. Blige ain't from L.A. 50 ain't from L.A. Eminem ain't from L.A. What's that about? What y'all talking about? So, again, respectfully, Lil Wayne is phenomenal. He's had a phenomenal career. There are other Super Bowls for him to perform at. It don't have to be because it's in New Orleans. He got to be on stage because he's from New Orleans. What's that? That has never been the case, really? That hasn't happened. And in terms of Nicki Minaj, you got to talk about the brother like that? Come on, Nicki. I respect you. I respect your work. I respect what you've accomplished. Who else you going to get in the beef with? Lil' Kim, Mariah Carey, Cardi B, Gucci Mane. I'm just looking at all of this stuff. Taylor Swift. Every time we turn around, Demi Lovato. Every time we turn around, it's something, Nicki. You disagree with the decision, you disagree with the decision. You got to talk about the brother like that? And why are we talking about Jay-Z like he's some damn sellout or something? Need I remind y'all, all the hip-hop artists, all the R&B people that have been performing at Super Bowl halftime over the last few years since he's been involved since 2019? Did I not read some of these names to you? The Who, Coldplay, and people like that? You know how hard it is for a black man to pull off what Jay-Z has pulled off in terms of making sure that black folks get that kind of center stage to promote their brand and build their profile? How unappreciative can you be? It ain't about you as an individual. It's about us. All of us. As black people. And that brother right there, Jay-Z, has been front and center and pushing the envelope. You gonna call him a sellout? You gonna use the N-word to describe him like that? A sellout? You know what? What's up with that? The hell is that? He don't deserve that. This some BS. You disagree with the decision, I understand. You think Lil Wayne's supposed to be up there, I understand. I got that part. I'm talking about how you talking about Jay-Z. How you talking about Jigga? How you talking about Hov? Really? Knowing all the people that he's helped? He ain't perfect. None of us are. But he don't deserve that. That's messed up. Come on, Nikki. Come on. To go at him like that, nothing but respect for you and all that you've accomplished. But damn. I mean, you going at him like that just because Lil Wayne ain't gonna perform? Were you beefing with him like you beefing with Megan Thee Stallion or something? I don't know. Maybe I missed it. I don't know that game. I don't know that lane. I'm just saying, talking about him like that. I mean, damn. That's messed up. He don't deserve that. I cover sports, and I know what he has done for artists in terms of giving them that stage for the Super Bowl. I know what I'm talking about on that level. He deserved better than that. He really, really does. That's just cruel. Disagree with the decision? I understand. I had the pleasure of meeting Birdman years ago. Nothing but love for him. Master P, you know me and you, dog. Please, come on, man. Ain't nothing but love. Nikki, I never met you. Nothing but respect for you. I'm just saying, to talk about him like that, you can't just disagree with his decision. It's almost like we trying to convince our own community to turn against specific individuals because they don't make the decisions that he made. Last time I checked, Kendrick Lamar is a black man who's a superstar. Ain't like he chopped liver. He's a black man. It ain't like Jay-Z told Lil Wayne to stay home. We gonna bring the Who or Coldplay up in here. Put Kendrick Lamar there. Y'all need to stop looking for excuses to try to turn individuals in our community against one of its own just because they didn't make the decision you thought they should make. Every decision you make is right, Nikki? Every decision? Master P, sure, Lil Wayne deserves his flowers. That ain't the only way for him to get his flowers. And there's plenty of other Super Bowls coming down the pipe, bro. It would be nice to see Lil Wayne performing in New Orleans. How we know Kendrick Lamar ain't gonna bring him? Come on, y'all. Come on. Let's get to some quick hitters before I get on out of here for the day. I'll start with podcast Gil's Arena, where they recently debated the greatest team in NBA history, and the argument got heated as Nick Young insists that title belongs to the 2018 Golden State Warriors. Take a listen.
But Nick, do you really believe the 2018 Warriors are the best team ever assembled?
Yeah, I think so. Just because, we got, ain't nobody being Steph and KD together. Come on, man.
I got one question. The 2001, 2, 3 version of Shaquille O'Neal.
Who gonna guard?
Who the fuck is gonna guard him from y'all team?
Who gonna guard Steph and KD on that team?
Who gonna guard Shaq?
Who gonna start Steph and KD's threes?
Derek Fisher was a damn good defender.
He's not running off that many screens chasing.
Damn good defender. Yes, he was. That's all he had to do.
And Steph had that nigga.
He got five of them. Like I said,
He got 5 of them playing at the one.
Yo,
Come on, man. Come on. Same way they had fucking Tyronn Lue wearing braids for AI, they would have had Tyronn Lue running around for Curry.
That's my question.
The nigga been that's the Curry.
Who on y'all roster?
Who's guarding them?
Who's guarding Shaq?
Because Kobe gonna have to guard Clay.
Y'all gonna be in the penalty.
Rick Fox gotta guard KD.
The game
what
is
the
over.
Fuck gonna happen to KD? What's gonna happen to Rick Fox?
Y'all in the penalty.
Nigga Curl just gonna be swinging. Nigga KD
Wiz gonna have to guard Shaq.
They getting y'all in foul trouble.
Jerry Curl just left.
And who guarding Kobe?
Think about it.
Who guarding Kobe?
Nigga, Iguodala.
Not a chance.
Mad respect to all of those brothers. They got a great podcast. Good to see Kenya Martin and Swaggy P talking basketball and all of that stuff. But respectfully, I got a question for both of y'all. Y'all help me out, please. Gil, you can join. Help me out, brother. We just gonna forget the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls that went 72-10 and ran through cats and winning the championship. We gonna forget Michael Jordan with Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman? We gonna forget how volatile a game of basketball was then and how you could get away with stuff then that you couldn't get away with now, Kmart? Because you know better than me, bro. Swaggy P, you know better than me. Y'all played. Shit, I ain't in y'all class. Y'all know. Come on now. And when you look at, yeah, no, you ain't got nobody to guard Shaq or anything like that, but you got 18 fouls to give if you look back at that team from the big man spot. With Luke Longley and those brothers, you got those 18 fouls to give. You can send Shaq to the free throw line. He going to hit 50% of them. You got Jordan. You got Pippen. You got Rodman. You got cats coming off the bench. You got Ron Harper, who was a big-time defender. I'm not saying you chasing Steph around, but you know KD is phenomenal as he is. Steph is phenomenal as he is. Clay, it's a physicality. We got to take that into consideration. That's all I'm saying. These were elite defenders. I'm saying 95, 96 Chicago Bulls. I got to put them right there. Holla at me if y'all want to. We could have that discussion. I mean, damn. We could have that one. Let me move on to the next subject, where Cynthia Cooper is calling on WNBA legends like Cheryl Swoops to support the next generation of players like Caitlin Clark. Rightfully so. Cynthia Cooper, way to go. Because we all know that Cheryl Swoops has really hurt herself. She's made herself look very bad. This is one of the great, great champions, an Olympic gold medalist, a national champion in college, multiple championships, 3 championships in the WNBA. Look at this quote right here from Cynthia Cooper. It's so incredibly important that we bridge the gap between what's going on today and what we experienced. It will help the younger generation to know our experiences so that they don't make the same mistakes and we continue to soar and grow as a league. Here's the reality. Cheryl Swoops revealed herself to be somebody who's resentful. Now, we don't know the specificity of her resentment. We don't know whether it's towards Caitlin Clark directly, which she has categorically and emphatically denied. We don't know whether it's against the system itself that hovers over the NBA, where we see this star who is destined to be a superstar, who happens to be white, getting shine that nary any WNBA player has never received. Now, one could easily argue, Cheryl Swoops, you were the first to have your own signature sneaker. You are a champion on every level. You were not just admired and respected. You've been revered. The only blemish on Cheryl Swoops' career is what she's been doing in reporting on Caitlin Clark this season. So hopefully she will listen to her former teammate, Cynthia Cooper, and she will embrace it all. And just embrace the fact that, listen, a rising tide lifts all boats. Because right now, I'm at a point right now, one of the reasons I made it purpose, I did it on purpose. I stopped talking about Cheryl Swoops last week is because I don't want her to lose her job. And I think at the rate that she was going to lose her job covering the Dallas Wings. I'm telling you that right now. WNBA ain't going to let you mess with the golden goose. And Caitlin Clark is the golden goose, whether y'all like it or not. A'ja Wilson's the best player in the world, but Caitlin Clark is the golden goose. She's the ratings grabber. She's box office. She's the one bringing eyeballs to the sport. I promise you, the WNBA ain't going to let her get messed with. And if you are Cheryl Swoops and you want to continue to call games and report on games and do that for the WNBA, I suggest you change your attitude and listen to Cynthia Cooper. Because if you don't, it's going to be a problem. Let's go to the next item on the list before I get on out of here, because I want to thank everyone who voted for me as the most annoying person in football media. I won the bracket of 64 and defeated my old buddy Skip Bayless in the finals by securing 53% of the vote. First of all, y'all are all lying. You know you love me. You know you love me. I love y'all too. Can we just admit the love? Can we just stop acting like the love ain't there? Y'all know y'all got love for me. You know you do. Now, I know I annoy you sometimes. Well, damn it, I'm supposed to. When you're debating, you take it aside. And if you disagree with me, it's going to annoy you sometimes. People are there to agree with me. People are there to disagree with me. That's the way it goes. Personally speaking, I don't know how I beat over Skip Bayless or Christopher Mad Dog Russo for that matter. I don't know how the hell that happened. I really, really don't. But nevertheless, I'll take it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, in this business, annoying or otherwise, it's not a bad thing to be hated. It's not a bad thing to be considered annoying. It's not a bad thing to be loved. The only bad thing is indifference. when people are not paying attention to you at all. And needless to say, that is not a problem I have. Love y'all. Appreciate the love. No doubt about that. Okay, thank you so much. Speaking of love, before I get on out of here, I wanted to take an opportunity to pay homage to two legends I love. I wanted to honor two legends that we lost this week. R&B singer, soul singer, the one and only Frankie Beverly, and the legendary actor James Earl Jones. Beverly, founder and voice of the R&B band Maze, passed away earlier today. He was 77 years old. Maze is arguably one of the greatest tour bands of all time, meaning Frankie Beverly and Maze. Remember that? One of the greatest tour bands of all time with multi-platinum hits like Joy and Pain, Sunshine and Rain, Happy Feelings. That was another beautiful one. Southern Girl and Before I Let Go. Before I Let Go was an all-timer. Obviously, James Earl Jones was an EGOT winner, one of the few artists to win an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony Award. His unmistakable baritone voice became as famous as his usually smiling face. He was the voice that invited TV viewers in with the line, "This is CNN," for the cable news network. He played the brave lion Mufasa in Disney's animated film, The Lion King, and was most famous, of course, as the voice of Darth Vader in the Star Wars films franchise. James Earl Jones was 93. May he and the incomparable Frankie Beverly rest in peace. God bless.